Aloha and welcome to Spirit Chat Radio. So, I did a podcast last week on the full moon and just an April forecast, energy forecast. And there's still a lot going on with that. There is quite a big shift that is happening, and there's a lot of aftermath. Some people might have thought that that kind of ended, but it hasn't ended. And so, I really felt compelled to do a follow up on the shift that's happening right now and why people are feeling the way that they're feeling and get into a little bit more detail. I got a big response from that last podcast and I got a lot of messages, and I did a follow up post in some of my groups. And the reason I did the follow up post is because I was trying to talk to people about some of the aftermath of the full moon stuff that was happening. And that got a huge response. If you're not in the group, just so that you know what that is, if you're new to my podcast or whatever, that is my Keys to the Spirit World group. And that's on Facebook. I have a couple of groups. I have some student groups and stuff, but my Keys to the Spirit World group is on Facebook, and that is my spirit community that I've created. And it's a really good, safe place to talk about anything spiritual. We have a lot of discussions that go on outside of the podcast and everything. People are discussing what they're going through right now, all kinds of different levels of spiritual awakening happening in there, from newbies to professional healers. There is a huge support system in this group. So if you're not in the group, I think that you might enjoy that if you enjoy this sort of thing. We talk about all kinds of different things, energies and everything. So anyways, I did an update in there, and people had a lot to say about that as well. Enough that I thought, you know what, I just need to do another podcast on this. I have a bunch of podcasts lined up, which is kind of unusual for me right now for anybody that knows me. But that being said, I have some really juicy stuff coming up. So also, don't forget to subscribe to iTunes and YouTube if you're interested in some of these things that we're talking about, because I do have some really good subjects coming up that I think that you're going to find super helpful. And right now, with this energy being as tentative as it is and all the shifting that's happening, and as we're moving into this other, space moving forward, and everybody is starting to feel more effects from it, this stuff that I'll be doing some podcasts on, I think that you'll find really helpful. So I'm really committed to helping you guys move through this in a way that you'll find helpful. Anyways, I just repeated myself there. That's okay. So if you don't know how to get to Keys to the Spirit World, before I get into some of this other stuff, you can go to my website, keystothespiritworld.com. And there's a button that says spiritual community or spirit community up, I believe, in the right hand corner. You can also find it on my Facebook link, like on Instagram. I think that's at Keys to Spirit. And on the YouTube channel, there's like a link up top. So it's kind of everywhere on my social media. You have to be invited into the group though, or be accepted is what I mean, because I do monitor that group. We don't want any spammy stuff going on, no low vibration stuff, no false information. I have some really, really good monitors in there also, who we monitor the group daily and make sure everybody's getting good, positive, and accurate information as they're interacting, even if it's just amongst themselves in the group. We don't want any low vibe stuff happening there, because I don't want that in anything I'm related to or teaching, or anybody who's following me. I'm really careful about that. So just don't want that in my space. We got enough of that going on in the world. That being said, let's get to the energy update, or the aftermath, and the big shift that's happening right now. So as we are moving forward into this dimensional shift and things that have been happening, again, I don't know how much you know about it, how much you follow me, but this has been predicted for thousands of years. It's not like the movies where you're all of a sudden just going to have some crazy apocalyptic just mass hit at one time. There's a transitional phase that everybody's going through, and the earth is going through, and people are going through. So some things that are happening with that I'd like to kind of bring up again, which we may have talked about, or you may have heard me talk about. With this, there is like a mass amount, a very large ripple of spiritual awakening that's happening. And why do you care about that, or why should you even care? Because you're probably, well, you are most likely one of those people, whether you were intuitive and awakened before, whether you were like me and you were sort of born this way, or whether you're a newbie at it. Everybody's spiritual awakening, or everybody's intuitive senses and psychic senses are still, they're heightening at a whole ridiculously fast, speedy rate right now. I couldn't think of the word, but whatever. It's accelerated. So anyways, that is really happening across the board. It is a huge ripple thing that's happening. For why should you care? For everybody that seems to be aware that something different is going on within themselves or within their spiritual body or whatever, for those of you who are aware of that, I'm noticing when I'm doing readings, and I'm noticing when I'm doing, consultations or podcasts or answering questions in the group, that it seems to be throwing people for a loop. It's interesting because I was talking to somebody the other day who will probably know who they are when they're listening to this podcast. And she said, you know what? This is spiritual awakening stuff, or like me getting more sensitive, is not really awesome. I'm not loving this a whole lot. It made me laugh because, I cannot tell you the amount of times that I have had people say to me, wow, I would love to be like you, and I would love to have these experiences. And I always am like, really? Because I live in my world, and they just are observing from the outside. They get to see the cool parts, or pick the cool parts from their observation of what that they'd like to have. But when you heighten spiritually and your senses become really raw, especially if you don't know how to protect yourself, which is what's happening to a lot of people who are not like me and haven't been doing it professionally, and we have trained and learned to protect ourselves for many years because it was necessary, because we were in the healing field. For those of you who are very raw with your senses and stuff that's happening, there is a lot of stuff that goes on with that can cause you to not feel physically your best, and cause you to feel shaky, or feel, just have different anxieties. There's a whole bunch of stuff that can go on and happen with feeling raw, and not understanding, not having the awareness of where your senses are, not understanding what's happening to your senses, and then not having the knowledge of what to do about it. So those three things is like the perfect storm for feeling out of control and upset, and like, how am I going to manage this, and feeling like you don't know if it's physical or you don't know if it's spiritual, and it can be really upsetting. So I'm going to try to get into that in a little bit or a minute too. I have a lot to cover, it seems like. I thought this was going to be a really short podcast, but maybe it's not going to be. So anyways, one of the things that's happening with this larger shift is people are feeling extremely, unusually tired. And I find this super interesting because I've been experiencing this for a couple of weeks now, me and my family. We all tend to be really sensitive in my household, so it like hits us all like literally like a wave at one time within a day or two of each other. And some of the things that you might be experiencing as I get into this is more naps, going to bed early, just being super tired. And then when you go to bed early, having a disrupted sleep schedule, and also having insomnia. So I'm going to kind of get into this each a little bit more. So just the more naps is self-explanatory. I mean, it doesn't matter how much sleep that you're getting through the day. With this really big shift, it is draining to a point of where we're going to talk about how the body wants to hibernate. And it's causing people to want to sleep more during the day and more frequently. So like you can't, your energy reserve is not holding out through the day at this time. So kind of imagine it like your iPhone or your cell phone battery is sort of shorting out and it's not like holding a charge. Nobody's really holding a charge right now. The other thing, which is really strange to me, because I'm such a night owl and I'm so comfortable with night energy. It's like so zen to me, is this going to bed early thing. I literally cannot barely hold my eyes open if we're talking anywhere between 9 and 10 o'clock at night. Like 10, I'm just struggling to keep my eyes open, which is the most bizarre thing to me. I mean, years and years and years I've been going to bed at like 1 a.m. It's so unusual, which is my disrupted sleep schedule. The other thing, because of course I keep going to bed early, I keep waking up way early, which is my whole sleep schedule is backwards. It's absolutely crazy. So why is this happening anyways? Because with any big energy shift or shift in energy, whether it be, around you, your environment, the earth energy, the astrological energy, when you have a big shift such as this, the physical body wants to hibernate. When you're sleeping is when most all healing takes place. Now, people tend to think that is, when physical healing takes place, but it's also when spiritual healing takes place and energetic healing and, all things related to spiritual alignment and that sort of thing. Energetic healing is super important, super needed, and super powerful. So when you're feeling the urge to take naps or you're feeling the urge to go to bed early in a way that most people are experiencing now, just this heavy lethargicness, and it's not like you were out, playing a football game or like, running a marathon or whatever, but it's unusual lethargic energy that doesn't relate to something, specifically going on in your life. When this is happening, your spiritual body is needing some time to do some much needed things. And people don't realize, because they don't think about it, that is what's happening with the spiritual body. They kind of think, oh, well, I must need the sleep, and they correlate it to the physical body. There's been a bunch of sleep studies on that where your physical body doesn't really need the rest like people think that it does, because you actually sit and you're rested. Most people are sitting and resting for most of the day anyways, but that's a whole nother podcast, so I'm not going to get into that. But anyways, sleep in naps and things like that are super important to the spiritual body. Now, when I talk about energetic healing, this isn't something where people are necessarily energetically sick or anything like that, but there are times when your spiritual body needs to recalibrate, and we need to recharge, and we need to align, and it takes more than one session to do so. And by that, I mean it takes more than one sleeping session to do so. So it takes a period of time as the earth energy is adjusting, which it is, as the consciousness of the earth and the people is adjusting, which it is, and as the planetary stuff and universal energy is also adjusting and shifting, our spiritual bodies, we need time to catch up with that and to move with it through the adjustments. So I like to use analogies. So I guess I would say another thing is, you want to imagine it like when you need to update your phone or update your software or something like that. You can't keep running on an old pattern or an old wave and keep up with the new energy or the new stuff that's coming out on your phone, or your computer is not going to run as fast and be as capable of moving through all the tasks that you want it to. Your phone is not going to operate in the same way that you want it to if you're not keeping things updated and maintained. It's the same thing with your spiritual body. That affects a lot of things in your life that you don't think about. And so you need time to do some of these things. So some of the things that you're doing right now while your body is your energetic body, your spiritual body is adjusting and healing and recalibrating, it is learning to align itself with new energies and new shifts that are happening on a spiritual and energetic level. So when you take the time to do that, you will align naturally. It naturally will begin to download, upload, whatever you want to say, a new pattern, a new energetic pattern when you take the time to sleep. If you do not take the time to sleep, if you do not take the time to have the naps or whatever, you're going to find that you're feeling probably a little out of balance. You're going to feel that you're not coping as well as you normally would. You're not feeling quite like yourself. You're not going to feel the energy that you normally would. And with this, with energetic healing, you're not really, even if you are aligning and whatever, you're not going to feel the energy right now that you've normally been feeling. So just keep that in mind kind of as a side note. But anyways, this is the time that it's aligning itself. It's seeking out the new energies, and it is adjusting to those new energies. It's also a time of recharge and store. So what I mean by that is this shift will drain your battery really quickly throughout the day and throughout weeks and months at a time, because it is, again, recalibrating all around you during your waking time. So while you're awake, you are walking through, experiencing, having contact with, and flowing with this energy that's shifting and changing and recalibrating. And as it's doing that, it's draining from you a lot more than it normally would take during the day. So it's like pulling excess and extra energy from you that you normally have in reserve, just to get you through and to feel energized. And so when you're relaxing or sleeping is what I mean is when you're sleeping, it is now time to re-energize and store. So as you're having a lot more naps, you're storing a lot more energy that you probably are not using now, but you will be using. Clearing is just super important right now. The amount of weird energies that I've been encountering in my home and the people I'm coming into contact with is really off the charts in a way that I'm not loving. So we are doing clearing nightly. And for those of you who think, well, do I really need to do clearing? I mean, technically, no, you don't really need to do anything. But if you were sensitive, we in our household find it very relaxing, and we find that if we're not doing the clearing, we are a lot more irritated as a whole, as a family. There's a lot more agitation that can happen quicker, especially when you're going through a shift such as this. You can have weirder dreams, like more nightmarish type dreams or worrisome dreams or fearful dreams, and those are super intense right now. So it's all in our area related to, lower vibration type stuff that always is trying to get through. And I'm used to that anyways because of what I do with, professionally and with work and that sort of thing. So we make a habit of it, and we're very aware of, clearing and doing all that anyways. We're very aware of patterns that start happening when people start getting agitated, and we can tell that we're feeling kind of, not at our best, I guess I would say, or you're noticing just a low vibration or weird things happening around your house, or really bad, not bad dreams, but well, sometimes bad, but just irritating dreams, and you're waking up feeling just, So that sort of thing we're super aware of. As aware of those things as I am, and as we are as a family as a whole. it's in like super intense right now. So we're doing clearing more than once a day. That's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing. And it's something I've dealt with forever. So we're doing it a couple times a day. We're doing it before bed, during the daytime when we're feeling like it. And it's everybody in my house. Like if someone's not doing the clearing, because we use incense as well. We use different types of clearing things, incense or sage or whatever, just different kinds. Somebody else is lighting it and leaving it out and running it through our space. So that's something that we're dealing with, and that's how we're dealing with a lot of the energies here. So for those of you who are learning how to deal with your sensitivities, you're newly sensitive, or you're just advancing like most of the world right now, and every time you advance, you're like, oh man, I have to deal with this now. Is this going to happen? Is this a normal thing to happen and to feel this way and to have things like this happen to you? Yes, it's a normal thing. Welcome to my life for the past 20 some years. Or actually, I'm not that young, but is this going to happen to you all the time? No, it's not going to happen to you all the time, because this sort of thing happens in phases, and it will depend a lot on, what's happening with the astrology stuff, what's happening with the planets, what's happening with the consciousness as a whole, what's happening with our planet. That's all shifting all the time. So my suggestion to you is you need to learn how to be adaptable, and that is super hard for a lot of people. You need to learn how to be adaptable and change your patterns that you normally, or your routines that you normally have. You need to learn how to adjust and ramp up your clearing if you need to. Steer clear of lower vibration people if you need to. These are something that you really need to work on if you're developing psychically, if you're spiritually awakening, is being adjustable. The second thing is, well, I guess it might not be for this is no in no particular order, right? The other thing is awareness. It's super important and super helpful to be aware of when these things are happening on an energetic level. That is amazingly helpful, because otherwise you find that you will be going through the day and you'll be going, why am I feeling like this? What can I attribute this to? And your brain starts going through all the reasons, like, oh, well, it could be this, no, well, it could be that. And sometimes when you're experiencing stuff like that, it's like, well, that's not making sense, and that's not making sense. And then it starts to freak you out or make you upset or go, geez, am I sick? All these other things start going through your head. So if these feelings that we're talking about with the energy waves are not attributed to like a situation, or maybe you got the flu, or maybe you were dealing with a relationship issue, or if it's not directly attributed to something that you're like, oh yeah, I've definitely been under stress in this area of my life, then most likely you want to look outside of the immediate things into a more worldly thing, a more energetic thing, and go, let me feel the vibe out there. Or podcasts such as this, or groups such as mine, you can sort of see and monitor, oh, more people are feeling this way. You can pull people around you. Are you kind of feeling like really tired lately? Or are you feeling sort of like out of body or out of whack? What, is it just me? You can pull people and ask them. You don't even have to listen to any podcasts or anything. So awareness is another thing, like I said, that can be super, super helpful. So you got the being flexible and adjustable, you got the awareness, and the last thing is don't try to fight it. It doesn't work, never works. It's just something that it's a losing battle. And so what do I mean by that is you don't want to try to just push through the lethargicness, or you don't want to try to force yourself to figure out you don't want to try to just fight it and slap a label on it and just try to push through it. I don't know how else to explain that, but anyways, you guys know what I mean. You just want to allow it to happen, allow the process to take place, allow the energetic recalibration, allow the energetic healing, allow the adjustment time, the alignment time that you need, and trust that that's what you need at the time. So, you don't want to fight it, and you want to trust that there's a reason for all of this happening with everything. And you might not know what it is, and you might not even understand it even after this podcast, but know that your bodies are working together. And what I mean by that is your physical bodies and your spiritual bodies work super well together as long as you don't get in the way. Don't get in the way. Don't try to, manipulate what one is wanting to naturally gravitate towards and the other one. Like, they work together. They are a super team. And so they are on point to having you move forward and having you align, because there's some super cool energy that is with this and around this and in the future here. And that energy is going to bring some really cool things. So, as we talked about before, we're also shedding old energy. We're shedding the old version of ourselves. We're always shedding an old version of ourselves, just so that you know. Because, again, I don't want to freak out anybody and go, well, I kind of liked that person. Because you're shedding the old versions of yourself that you don't need. And so just kind of allow that to be gone and be interested in what's lying ahead. But do know that with this shift, you are going to need some downtime, and you are going to need some alignment time, and it's probably much needed. I'm sure that you're working really hard, and you're doing all of these things for your family, and you're doing these things at work and all of that. So, these things are also very much needed time and time again. So that being said, hopefully you found this helpful. And just so that you guys know, you probably, if you're sensitive, are also experiencing a lot of electrical issues and a lot of spirit interference issues. I cannot tell you how many interruptions and how many times I've tried to do this podcast. I would say at least 10. And not only that, my phone is completely just gone crazy. Any electronics that I have, I'm afraid to touch and work on them because it's just absolute craziness. Things are breaking and then starting again. And so that is also happening. But it's also normal in my world. I just kind of wait till that just sort of goes away. I hope that you found this podcast helpful, or this update helpful. There will be a new look from me, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that at the beginning. Like I said, I had to redo this podcast a million times. But anyways, I'm redoing some of my stuff. So just for those of you who kind of follow me, you may be noticing kind of a new look. So I hope that you like that. And I have that new website coming, and I might even be doing some new empath stuff. So that'll be something cool to watch for. Anyways, if you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe and join us in the spirit community. And other than that, power through and cleanse your space today and tomorrow. Actually, just keep doing it for a while, okay? All right. Have the most amazing day. Aloha.
Introducing Instagram Teen Accounts, a new way to keep your teens safer as they grow, like making sure they've got the right gear for writing.
Knee pads.
Check.
And helmet?
Done. See you, Dad.
New Instagram Teen Accounts, automatic protections for who can contact your teen and the content they can see.